A team of astronomers observed an object whose existence shatters the underpinnings of the Big Bang theory. The quasar group, called huge LQG, is supposedly so enormous it would comprise roughly 5% of the observable universe. By conventional reasoning, an object of this size simply could not have formed since the theoretical Big Bang explosion. According to lead author Dr. Roger Close, the finding upsets the foundation of everything we do. But as is so often the case with baffling space discoveries, are we being told the complete story?
The question that arises from this recent finding of a gigantic quasar cluster, which, according to the headline, shatters long-held theories of space, is that it actually shatters the long-held theory of the Big Bang. But that's not specified. It's just put in general terms because, of course, there is no alternative to the Big Bang theory at present, or at least there isn't according to conventional science. Of course, the electric universe sees all of this as being confirmation of Halton-Arp's work of decades ago, where he actually predicted that these highly redshifted objects, the quasars, would appear to be larger and larger and brighter the higher the redshift, simply because of this idea that the redshift is a measure of the distance. Now, Halton-Arp has shown, and the electric universe actually expects, that quasars are merely faint because they're young. They've just been recently hatched, so to speak, from a parent galaxy, and they're highly redshifted. But they are born from nearby galaxies, so these things are much closer than the 9 billion light years that is specified in the article.
The observational evidence that undermines the distance is proportional to redshift assumption has been known since the 1980s from the work of Halton-Arp, who noticed that these high redshift quasars had a statistical and oftentimes a physical association with nearby active galaxies. Standard astronomers have ignored this evidence, and they've backed themselves into not just a corner, but a very long dead end. If redshift is not primarily a measure of distance, then the expanding universe and the Big Bang cosmology are obsolete.
The astronomers' observations of huge LQG also challenge the cosmological principle, which theorizes that the universe is homogeneous or the same in all directions.
The cosmological principle actually goes back to Newton. It's the assumption, again, there's that assumption, that we don't occupy a unique place in the universe, that at sufficiently large scales, the universe will look the same from every point within it. So if this holds up, this would mean that at the largest scale, the universe is not homogeneous, that this clump of matter couldn't have developed from gravity since the Big Bang.
Notably absent from media coverage of huge LQG is any meaningful discussion of the predictive success of the astronomer Halton-Arp.
It really is scandalous that Halton-Arp, a noted astronomer of his day, who predicted that this kind of observation would be made, is not even mentioned in the article. And in fact, I've seen no comment anywhere in the news items at all about Halton-Arp's work which predicted this kind of finding. You would expect that a finding which goes against what is generally believed and something that is predicted would be headline news, and that Halton-Arp should be singled out for recognition. Instead of that, we see nothing, silence, and there's waffling about long-held theories of space without saying that the Big Bang theory has actually been disproven.
For a number of years, I worked as an engineer in the U.S. military space program. I entered that program as an atheist and an evolutionist. I left it as a creationist and a Christian. In this video, you'll discover some of the evidences that have convinced me, along with many others, that the Bible is true and evolution is not. I'll be your guide as we tour the solar system together. We'll see stunning pictures and movies of planets, moons, and other objects. Some are our next-door neighbors in space. Others are vast distances away. We'll discover that often these objects do not support evolutionary ideas. Many of them appear to be quite young, not billions of years old. In fact, according to the current evolutionary models, many of the objects in our solar system cannot exist at all. In fact, according to the current evolutionary models, many of the objects in our solar system cannot exist at all. Now that probably contradicts everything you've heard before. You've probably been told that evolutionary astronomers have it all figured out, and that their models prove that our solar system formed all by itself billions of years ago. Well, you'll have to hear the evidence and judge for yourself. In this video, you'll discover what you're not being told about our solar system. So let's get started. Before we can talk about how our solar system got here, we need to clarify exactly what the solar system is. When we talk about the solar system, we're talking about our sun and everything that orbits around it. This includes the 8 major planets in our solar system, with many moons, asteroids, comets, and some smaller objects as well. By the way, this diagram is not to scale. In this video, we'll be discussing all the planets and some of their moons in our solar system. In order from the sun, the planets are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto is a special case. Here's what the planets would look like if you could line them all up next to the sun. In real life, the planets are much farther away from the sun and each other than this, but I wanted to show you how big the planets are compared to each other in the sun. By the way, you are here. So where did this system come from? There are 2 competing models for the origin of our solar system. This is a pretty straightforward issue. Either the solar system was created, or it wasn't. In this video, I'm going to use the word evolution to describe the belief that our solar system was not created. This word is often used to describe biological evolution, of course, but astronomers commonly use it in a broader meaning as well. So when I use the word evolution, I'm not talking about plants or animals. I'm talking about the belief that our solar system and everything in it formed and developed all by itself. I used to believe in evolution, but not anymore. I now believe that the entire universe and everything in it, including our solar system, was created by God as described in the Bible. Of course, many scientists today disagree strongly with this idea. These men and women believe that no creation occurred. They believe that the solar system formed billions of years ago without a creator being involved. In this video, you'll discover why their model is wrong. Of course, this won't prove that the creation model is right. It's impossible to use science to prove any historical event happened. All we can do is see which scenario fits the evidence the best. And that's what this video is all about. Most people have been told that all the evidence points toward evolution. As we tour the solar system together, ask yourself this question: are the planets and moons consistent with these evolutionary ideas or not? I think you'll see that the answer is no. I think you'll see that the evidence is perfectly consistent with the creation viewpoint instead. So let's discuss these 2 opposing models. The creation model is based on the Bible. The Bible says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." The Bible doesn't give us a specific date for this event, but from other passages in the Bible, we can calculate that this would have been about 6,000 years ago. On the other hand, someone who believes in evolution denies the biblical account. The dominant evolutionary model today is called the solar nebula model. According to this model, our solar system formed from a swirling cloud of gas and dust about 4.5 to 4.6 billion years ago. It turns out that you can't build planets like the evolutionists say. You can build clumps of dust, certainly. We know that dust particles stick together. Just look under your furniture and see the dust bunnies there for proof. Well, experiments in space have shown that dust bunnies will form in a vacuum too. The problem is that once you have big clumps of dust, and maybe even some small pebbles, they don't grow together anymore. They start impacting each other too fast to stick together. Instead, they start breaking each other up in the collisions. Gravity isn't strong enough to overcome this until after the rocks have formed into small asteroids. So, despite the fancy computer animations you see on science videos, there's no way to get from dust clumps to planets. Evolutionary astronomers know this is true. That's why you see quotes like this one in the astronomy textbooks. Once these planetesimals have been formed, further growth of planets may occur through their gravitational accretion into large bodies. Just how that takes place is not understood. So before we even discuss any planets or moons, the evolutionary theory is breaking down already. It can't produce the asteroids it needs to build the planets.
Even Charles Darwin said, "What I am putting forth as my theory, I feel as though I've confessed to a murder." Anybody who has a theory or discovers a fact, anything that goes against the general flow of what everybody thinks is true, they know they're in for a fight. Thinking is important, it's good, it's what you're supposed to do. Come, let us reason together. That's what we're all about. I don't think anybody should be about any process that is a non-thinking process. James Klein from McGill University said 10 years ago, in American Scientist, "Where did matter come from? The best theories of the origin of the universe still fail to explain how the universe managed not to turn up empty." Where did matter come from? How did the universe not turn up empty? So 10 years ago, Big Bang Theory wasn't, giving everybody the closure that was needed. This does not mean it's not a good theory. It's nice as theories go. But it also indicates this is not a done deal for anybody. To teach it as though it's a done deal, though, that's a little either too casual or deceptive. Depends on what level of knowledge you have in the field. Cover of Discover magazine, 2002. Well-known evolutionary cosmologist Alan Guth said, this is right on the front of the magazine, "The universe burst into something from absolutely nothing. Zero. Nada. And as it got bigger, it became filled with even more stuff that came from absolutely nowhere. That is what the Big Bang Theory says. A lot of people don't understand that evolution says that fish turned into monkeys and the monkeys turned into people. You need to go the whole enchilada and understand what you're buying here. And this, of course, the beginning of the universe is what you're buying, a violation of the first law of thermodynamics. As Bruce Malone said, first law of thermodynamics says matter energy cannot be created nor destroyed. But the Big Bang from the get-go violates that and says all the matter and energy in the universe was at one time created. That's a step of faith. That is a miracle. And I have no problems with people believing in miracles. I do. I happen to believe in God, so I believe miracles, if God has power to do that, yeah, miracles can happen. But if someone says, I don't believe in miracles, but I believe in the Big Bang, I'm sorry, you do believe in miracles. I spoke at University of Texas, El Paso, and in 2 sessions, over 5 hours, the Atheist Club members were there, testing me and hassling with me. I actually got to like some of them. And at the very end, I finally got all the Atheist Club members to admit they believed in miracles too, just different miracles than I did for different reasons, And I said, well, now I'm glad you finally, it took 5 hours. But everybody, Albert Einstein said there's only 2 ways of looking at the universe. Either that everything's a miracle or nothing is. And I think that really he thought of things as miraculous when you look at some of his other writings. Fact, logic, evidence, thinking, and the science has to be what we're about in science, or I'm really not interested. I got into science because the beauty of truths is what I wanted to discover. And so theories are people's constructs. They're interpretations of the facts, and theories can be tested. Yes, they can. Here we go. Andre Lind from Stanford, they have a collider there, 1994, again, Scientific American. The first and main problem is the very existence of the Big Bang. One may wonder what came before. If space-time did not exist then, how could everything appear from nothing? What arose first, the universe or the laws determining its evolution? Explaining this initial singularity, the little spot, single spot everything came from, and when and where it all began still remains the most intractable problem of modern cosmology. And of course that is the paradox, that everything came out of nothing for no reason. And that is the Big Bang Theory, which, if people wish to believe that, that's fine, that's well and good, but we shouldn't teach it as, hey, we know this is true, this is the only option. Big Bang, origin of life, origin of species are the 3 miracles that have happened, and how they happened, whether it did it by itself, whether there's a box maker or the box made itself, of what Bruce was saying is really what it gets down to. But Marilyn Beausavant does not believe in creation, but she also won't buy the Big Bang. Now, she's in the Guinness Book of World Records, being the most famous men's in the world, because her IQ is 228. I think the test only goes to 200, so I don't know how she pulled that out. But her column in Parade magazine is interesting. Look what she said. Be able to defend your arguments in a rational way. Otherwise, all you have is a what? Opinion. There's nothing wrong with an opinion. There's absolutely no. Scientific investigation is launched by opinions and then research, experiment, hypotheses, and the vigorousness of that research may convert something in, it may be have conferred upon it the title of theory, and if it goes far enough, law. But sometimes laws of science have had to be revoked because we were wrong, because humans are fallible. That's the search, that's the quest that we're on. But if you can't defend it in a rational way, then you just have an opinion. Nothing's wrong with an opinion, just don't package it and sell it as a fact and push it down people's throats. Someone asked, as a non-scientist, how can I accept current scientific theories? For instance, the wave nature of light, when so many theories in the past later proved to be incorrect. And she goes into the Big Bang Theory here, and let me give you bigger letters on what she says. That sounds just plain nuts, right? But do you believe it? If so, how do you support your belief that the entire cosmos was once smaller than a polka dot? With a strong line of reasoning, solid evidence, anything at all? If you cannot, well, welcome to the world of faith. You're accepting what you've been told by those you respect. Lots of science, far too much, is accepted on faith. And she says we must be careful not to teach theories as fact. It slows scientific progress immeasurably. Because if somebody just drops down into your database a theory as a fact, then you will exclude all curiosity outside of that paradigm, and you won't look for anything. That's why it took so long for people to accept Alfred Wegener's continental drift. That's why it took so long for people to even consider Big Bang, because there was a prejudice against the universe having a beginning of any kind, which is why the oscillating universe theory helped cosmologists who still wanted the universe to be eternal and have no beginning. Big Bang says there was a beginning. Marilyn Beausavant also commented on the Big Bang, saying, I believe that if a religion had been the first to propose the idea that all the matter in the universe at one time was concentrated in an area smaller than a pinhead, that probably the scientists would have smiled at such an idea. You know, oh, isn't that cute, you know? But it's actually a very religious concept, you know. Michael Roos, who has an endowed chairmanship at Florida State, he's an evolutionary philosopher, said, I can see why evangelicals are so alarmed by evolution. After all, the general evolution theory claims to answer questions that used to be the province of religion, like, where did we come from? What's the purpose of life? Why are we here? Where are we headed? All those kinds of things, tautological type things. He said he understands, even though he's an atheist evolutionist, he understands why evangelicals would feel like, you know, someone's messing in on their territory, because these were always the province of faith. And if you base your life on evolution being true, you will come to different conclusions about those questions and many others. So it is a worldview. It is a faith position. This is Eric Lerner. He does not believe the Big Bang. He wrote a book called The Big Bang Never Happened. He is a cosmic string theorist, and he got together, made an open letter in New Scientist magazine in 2004, got like 33 other scientists to sign it. Now it's over 1,000 of them. And when it got up to like 400 and something, I checked the list. My old astronomy professor, Minos Kafatos, was on the list. So I knew there were other cosmologists. Not that they rejected the Big Bang, but they agreed with him, with Lerner, that the Big Bang is being taught dogmatically. Even if I believed in the Big Bang theory, I would be against it being taught dogmatically. And I've been in trouble with creationists and evolutionists sometime, because when I taught public school and when I taught in state community colleges, universities, and colleges, right now I'm teaching at a Christian college, so I can say what I want, say, and this is what we believe here, you don't have to. I can make a firmer statement. But when I taught at other colleges, and even still I teach evolution theory, I teach the students what evolution says. I think if you believe in evolution, you're ignorant, and you can't discuss it intelligently unless you know what creationists really believe. And if you're a creationist, and you don't know what evolution actually says, you're ignorant. You see, no one should be about ignorance and dogmaticism. And actually, if you want to enter the discourse on these matters, you must become informed, and it actually behooves me to understand evolution better than almost everybody I've ever debated or discussed evolution with. I have to understand. They don't think they need to understand mine. They think it could all fit on a Sunday school flannel board. And that's just not, of course, so. So here's sort of a little chart here. If you can't say it simple, Einstein said, you don't understand it well enough. But the Big Bang theory has had to become a more and more intricately interwoven and convoluted complexity mathematically and schematically, and that's usually the sign of the death of a theory.